guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing really well today. So I am back today with another spring dress sewing project, and I'm really excited about this one. Over about the past year, I've been seeing the Hillhouse Nap Dress all over my Instagram feed, and this dress is a dress with a sheared bodice and a tiered skirt and these cute little ruffle straps, and to me it looked like something that would be pretty straightforward to recreate, so that's what I'm going to be doing in today's video. So for this project, you will not need a pattern, and I will be showing you how I calculated out all of the different rectangular pieces of fabric. I ended up making two different dresses, so let me show you what they look like. So both of my dresses are made from Ruffle Paper Company cotton fabric, and I think cotton is a really good choice for this style of dress. It's easy to work with. So here's the first one. This is the blue garden party floral print from Ruffle Paper Company. So you can see it has the stretchy sheared bodice and these cute little straps. And then I've done 3 tiers on the skirt. So my skirt looks a little bit different from the original nap dress, but this just made it a little bit easier to fit into 3 yards of fabric, which is what I had, but you could definitely customize this. And then the one that I filmed for today's video is this mint green laurel print from Ruffle Paper Company, which really reminded me of one of the nap dresses from a recent Hillhouse collection, which I will put a picture of in so you guys can compare, but I thought it would be perfect for this project. So this is the one that I have filmed that you'll see in the video. Both of these dresses are so comfortable, and they're the perfect one-piece outfit for the spring and summer. So let me go ahead and jump in and show you how I made them. So this dress is made out of entirely rectangular pieces of fabric, so let me show you how I came up with the numbers for all of this, and this will all be listed in the description box as well, and you can also screenshot these. So first up, for the front and back pieces, you will want to take your bust measurement plus 1 inch for ease and 1 inch for a seam allowance. So that gave me a width of 36, and then I chose 25 inches for the length, and you'll want to cut 2 of this piece. Then for the first tier, I found that increasing the width by 25% per each tier gives the best look. So for this tier, I am increasing the top piece's width by 25%. So that gives me 36 plus 9, which equals 45. And then for length, I've chosen 13 inches. Now for the bottom tier, I decided I wanted mine to be more like a hem ruffle, so I'm using the same width from tier 1 of 45 inches, but I'm going to cut this piece out 3 times. Then for my length, I've chosen 6.5 inches to make it a little bit shorter and more just like a ruffle accent. But if you wanted this to be an entire separate tier, you could follow the same steps from tier 1 and increase that by 25%. For the strap piece, you'll want to measure across your shoulder and see where you want the strap to hit. So for me, that was 12 inches. And then I multiplied that out times 2 to accommodate the shearing, and then added 1 inch for a seam allowance. So that gave me a length of 25 inches for this piece, and then I chose a width of 6 inches, and that gives me enough room to have that cute ruffled look. So those are all of the pieces that we need for this project, and it is pretty customizable in terms of the skirt. As long as you have that bust measurement, you can go ahead and make the tiers however you want to. So with all of my calculations done, I'm ready to go ahead and cut all of my rectangles out of my fabric. I am using 3 yards of this cotton fabric from Ruffle Paper Company, and I ended up with just enough left to make a cute matching face mask, so it was a really good amount for this project. And with all of my pieces cut out, I'm ready to go ahead and get started sewing them together. So the first thing I'm going to do to get started with this project is to sew the side seams on all of the skirt pieces. So I'm starting here with the front and back pieces and just pinning these together with the right sides together along the side seams. Then I'll repeat the same process for the first tier and the hem ruffle. And on the hem ruffle, I will be pinning together 3 pieces instead of 2. I chose to cut my hem ruffle in 3 pieces just because that was what worked best with the width of my fabric, but you definitely don't have to do that if you have wide enough fabric. So once I was done with that, I was ready to go take these over to the sewing machine and sew all of these down with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Next, I used my serger to finish all of the raw edges and then took these pieces over to my ironing board and pressed all of the seams to one side. Next, I took all 3 pieces back over to my serger and used this to finish the raw edges on both the top and bottom of all of 3 of these pieces. Next up, we're going to do some hemming. So I'm going to start with the top piece, and I'm going to hem the top edge of this piece just by folding that serging under and top stitching all the way around. I'll do the same thing for the top tier, folding under the top edge, but for the bottom ruffle, I will hem both sides of this piece. And then once the hems are sewn, I'm going to turn my stitch length to the longest length and run 2 rows of gathering threads along the top of the first tier and the hem ruffle. So now we can start to put these 3 pieces together. So first I'm going to pull my gathering threads on the hem ruffle and adjust these to fit the bottom of the first tier piece. So I'm just going to pull on my gathering threads and make sure that this is adjusted to fit to that piece. Then I'll overlap the hem ruffle over the serged edge of the top tier, about a 1/2 inch here, but the length is really up to you. And then I'm just going to pin this all the way around and top stitch it down. I'm going to repeat exactly the same process for the top tier, pulling these gathering threads and then overlapping this piece over the top of the dress in the same way and top stitching this down as well. Once all 3 pieces are attached together, I'm going to remove those gathering threads from the dress, and then I'm ready to work on the straps. So the first thing I'm going to do here is finish all the raw edges on the strap pieces with my serger. Then I'm going to hem the long edges of these pieces in the same way that we hemmed the edges of the dress pieces. I'm just going to fold under the serging and top stitch it down. And now the real fun begins and we can get started with our shearing. So this is my elastic thread and I've gone ahead and wound this bobbin by hand with some elastic thread. Then I'm going to set up my sewing machine for shearing. For my sewing machine, that means turning the stitch length all the way up and turning the tension quite far down. So I'm going to just put my elastic thread in the bobbin case here, and then I'm ready to start sewing my rows of shearing. Going to begin with the top of the dress, and I'm going to start by sewing a row of shearing that is 7/8 of an inch away from the edge of the dress where we hemmed it earlier. This gives a nice ruffled look at the top of the dress. Now you'll notice as I sew, the first row of shearing will really not seem to gather the dress up much at all, but the more rows you add, the more this gathers up and it starts to look more like the right size for whatever size you're making. So I'm sewing my rows of shearing about 1/2 inch apart, and for the most part, I'm just kind of eyeballing this. I wish I had had some tailor's chalk that I could mark the lines with because that would be a lot easier. So that's what I would recommend. But I just happened to be out on the day that I was making this. Now, I did count on a picture of the Hillhouse Nap Dress how many rows of shearing there were, and there were 18 rows. So that's what I decided to sew on my dress as well. Then moving on to the straps, I'm going to sew my first row of shearing again 7/8 of an inch away from the edge, and then also 4 rows of shearing that are 1/2 inch apart. So here is how the dress looks now that all those rows of shearing are sewn, and I'm going to use my iron and the steam from the iron to help shrink it up even a little bit more. And the same thing for the strap pieces, and I'm also going to press down the edge of the ruffle that will be towards the neckline of the dress just to help that lay flat. And now the last step here is just to attach the straps to the dress. So I went ahead and tried it on at this stage to see where they would look best, and for me that was 4 inches in from the side seam. So I am just layering these together, overlapping the dress over the strap about 1/2 inch and pinning these in place. Then I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine and top stitch them in place, sewing right over my first row of shearing so that the stitching is hidden in that row of shearing. One quick note about the straps: if you find that they are too loose once you're done with your dress, you can always add a piece of thicker elastic to the straps. My first version of this that I made, the blue version, I made my straps a little bit longer and I found that they didn't stay in place as well and needed a little bit more of support. So I used a piece of elastic for that and that worked really well. But when I made the measurement adjustments for the second version that I showed you in this video, it worked a lot better. And with the straps attached, this dress was done, and I'm so happy with how both of these dresses turned out. I think they're so comfortable and just the perfect spring and summer sun dress. Definitely something I see myself wearing a lot over the next few months, and I would love to make more of them. I'm really happy with how these dresses turned out. I think they're quite similar to the original from Hillhouse Home, so I'm very excited to have these in my wardrobe, and I kind of want to get a couple of more cottons from Ruffle Paper Company and make a few more just because I think they're something I will wear a lot for the spring and summer. But I hope some of you guys will give this project a try as well, and I would love to see how your dresses turn out, so be sure to let me know over on Instagram if you do. I would love to see your pictures of your finished dresses. But thank you guys so much for watching and hanging out here on my channel today. If you are new around here and would like to stay tuned for my future sewing content, you can go ahead and subscribe by clicking that red button down below, and I would really appreciate it. But thank you guys so much for watching and hanging out here on my channel today, and I will talk to you in the next one. Bye!